Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone. I think we can make a start. I know we've still got people joining us, but I can see we've got over 350 people with us already, which is absolutely fantastic. We can't see you, but hopefully you can see and hear us okay. I should introduce my colleagues, Sandra Parr, who you'll hear from later, and Millicent Jones. But above all, it's my great pleasure and privilege to give a very, very warm welcome to our Chief Conductor designate, Domingo Hindoyan. Domingo, welcome. Now, normally at this point, I know that you would all, if we were in the auditorium, get on your feet and burst into wild applause. This is rather difficult to do on Zoom. It's not the way that we would normally introduce our new Chief Conductor to you, but I know that you'll understand the circumstances we're in, and I know that you'll look forward to welcoming Domingo in person when he's able to come over to Liverpool. I'm Mike Leakin, of course, Chief Executive of the Royal Liverpool Philharmonic, and on behalf of everybody in the organisation, the musicians, the staff, the board, I just want to say how absolutely thrilled we are that Domingo has agreed to take up this position as our next Chief Conductor from September 2021. And we are just really excited about the potential for him and the orchestra to develop an amazing new partnership. And I must say that potential was evident to us from Domingo, your very first rehearsal on your very first visit to us last year. Now, you will all know about the incredible work that the orchestra has done with our present Chief Conductor, Vasily Petrenko, over the last 14 years or so. And of course, we're really looking forward to our final season before Vasily steps down from that role to become Conductor Laureate. And to be able to secure a conductor as exciting as Domingo, to succeed Vasily, and to really kind of build out on everything we've been doing is just really fantastic for us all. I'm going to hand over in a minute to my colleague Sandra Parr, Director of Orchestra Planning for the orchestra ensembles, and to Domingo himself. But perhaps before I do, just a few words on the search, because I think, well, I've been asked two questions consistently by you all over the last 18 months. One is, who's the new Chief Conductor? But the other has been, how do you go about finding one in the first place? So a little bit about that process. We started, obviously, when we knew that Vasily was going to be leaving something like 2 years ago, by pulling together a search committee, and that was made up of about 10 people jointly between musicians in the orchestra and management. And the first thing we did as a group was to really think hard about what we wanted from this role, because, of course, the Chief Conductor absolutely has to work brilliantly with the orchestra and produce inspiring performances with them and develop them, but also has to be somebody who you, the audience, will really enjoy watching perform, somebody who understands the whole organisation and is kind of aligned in the things that we're wanting to do around our education work, for example. So we really thought hard about what we were wanting to look for. And then, having done that, it's really about a long and truly worldwide search, seeing conductors conduct elsewhere, away from Liverpool, and then inviting potential candidates to come to Liverpool and to work with the orchestra, to talk with them, really for them to get a feel about us as an organisation and about the city and about the audience of the orchestra, and for us to get a feel with them. And all the way through that process, what was critical was making sure that we were involving the musicians in the orchestra and the staff, and indeed you, the audience, and getting feedback. And that feedback was absolutely fundamental to then us coming down to the final decision, as I say, which, you know, the more we got to know Domingo and to work with him became clearer and clearer to us. Domingo will be, I'm reliably told, thank you to Sandra for this, the 23rd conductor in our 180-year history. We are, as you all know, the oldest orchestra in the UK. So it's a distinguished history, a very distinguished roster of conductors that Domingo's joining. But he's the first to hold the post from outside Europe, including Russia, or North America. And we're really excited to have somebody who's come out of South America and Venezuela joining us. Domingo will be joining us from September 21, as I said, on a 4-year contract, which is great. So that really gives us a long time to plan that initial 4-year period. And he'll be coming for a minimum of 12 weeks in the course of the season. So a very strong presence from our chief conductor in the season, doing of the order of 20 concerts or so at least. So I think that will really position him at the heart, at the centre of our orchestra season, and as I'm sure Sandra will tell you, we're already in really exciting discussions about what that future programme might look like. So it was a really interesting and fascinating process for us, I think, for everybody involved. Quite an interesting one, because we're not the only orchestra in the UK right now who's been looking for chief conductors. There were, I'm sure Sandra would tell you, a few moments in sort of concerts elsewhere around the country where we would bump into colleagues from other orchestras and all pretend come up trying to give us reasons for why we were there, when the reality is we were probably all looking at conductors. But we are really pleased to be making this announcement now. We always said, and I know that I've said to many of you, that our ambition was to make an appointment as we got towards the end of this season, ideally before the summer and before we go into Vasily's final season. And I'm really pleased that we've been able to keep to that deadline, particularly given the incredibly challenging circumstances, obviously, of the last 12 weeks or so. And before I hand over, I would like to pay tribute to all the team that have been involved. That search committee of a range of musicians and management, including Sandra, really did a fantastic job. And as I say, we couldn't be happier that Domingo has graciously accepted the role, and we cannot wait to enter into a fantastic partnership with you, Domingo. And with that, I will hand over to Sandra Parr to say a little bit more, and then to Domingo. Sandra.
Good evening. I'd like to say, lovely to see you, but I can't see you. But it is wonderful to know that you're all out there and wanting to be here with us this evening. Just to give you a bit more background, Michael mentioned the process for choosing a conductor. This varies enormously between orchestra to orchestra. Some orchestras simply just have their management appoint somebody and then tell the orchestra later. I'm not sure I agree with that, and I'm sure it wouldn't work in Liverpool. So of course we wanted to make sure that the process was very fair. It was a very long list to begin with and a very short list at the end, obviously, but it was very good to include a lot of opinion from a lot of constituencies, obviously our players, and of course our audience. You vote with your hands, and there's applause at the end of every concert anyway, so of course we take that into consideration. I think one of the hardest parts of my job in the past few months has simply been trying to keep it under wraps, because obviously I've been very close to the whole process, and I could feel which way it was going from quite early on. And it's very difficult when you, as the audience, catch me in the bar and I have to keep a very straight face and not give anything away. That's quite difficult to do. I can say also that I know many of you are very disappointed because of the situation that we're in at the moment. We cannot have the Verdi Requiem at the end of this month, which we would have done with Domingo and our orchestra and choir. I can let you into a little secret in that he's already committed to our choir through the newsletter that they get once in a while to keep them in touch, that we have rescheduled the Verdi Requiem for a future date, although not in the 2021 season. We have committed to do it again in the future. You can see, of course, Domingo, hopefully in October and May. You will already had our season brochure for next year, and you see the dates 29th and 31st of October and the 1st of May. So there are plans to see Domingo before he starts in September 21. But before that, if you happen to have missed the concerts last June, this time last year, and on the 9th of January this year, we do have some tasters of those concerts up on our radio channel on our website. So do find them. There's Beethoven 7 from last June, which is very, very much alive. And the Strauss-Dom 1 was full of energy, the one we played it in January. And there's also, for those of you who remember that fantastic trumpeter guest of ours, Pacho Flores, playing a concerto by Roberto Sierra. So, Domingo, finally you meet the audience face to face, although I know you're 790 miles away from Liverpool at the moment, but I know that you really wanted to be here in person tonight. Come on, tell us, how did your life change on Tuesday morning when finally the news started to break?
Hello to everybody, it's a real pleasure. And even with this screen in front of me, I can feel Liverpool is there. And so thank you very much. I have to honestly say that last Tuesday was so important. One of the best days of my life, of course, is my first major orchestra. And I receive so many messages from Liverpool, from the people in Liverpool, such a nice that it made me feel that I become part of a new family. And this is a life-changing for me. I feel I feel protected now somehow. I feel I have a family, and this is fantastic feeling. And also from my other family from Venezuela, I felt they were so proud, and that the young kids and the young conductors and musicians, they feel they have a way to go and get the young people motivated, and it makes me feel very, very, very proud. So it was an important day, because of course before I was already very happy, I knew it, but when you feel already pampered and protected by everybody, and everyone is happy about it, then you feel, you know, wow, you understand the dimension of the fact, yeah.
I understand it very well. Liverpool audiences are incredibly protected, you're quite right. They're also quite inquisitive and want to know everything there is to know about you as well. And of course, one of the questions they're going to start asking you is about the repertoire that you're going to be bringing to Liverpool and what artists. And I'll say right at the top here now, there is no question, Pacho Flores is definitely coming back. There is no doubt about that. So that doesn't even need to be a question. But you have taken from me all of our past programs over the last few years. I know that you've pored over them. I know when we have our planning meetings, which we have at least once a week, you're almost ahead of me remembering what it is that we've already done. But without giving too much away, perhaps you could give us a few ideas of the kind of things, the key stone parts of the repertoire that you're thinking about putting in your first few seasons.
Well, this is one first thing I did already when I went in last June 2019, is to see the brochure and say, wow, what an orchestra, what a fantastic program. And already it's great to go to such a healthy place that is plenty of imagination and nice programming and with a great audience. So when you see the program, you see, wow. Then actually it's easier when you go to a place where it's not so well organized, because then you put everything in order. Here is a challenge. And I felt the Liverpool audience likes the connection with the orchestra, likes the electricity. So the programs will be around that connection, pieces that can really put together the audience and the orchestra and the community together, starting from the big German classics, of course. This is a part of music I love. Let's go back, starting from the real father, from Haydn to now to Mahler and Bruckner and later we'll go later. I like to put a little bit of the French color, because I studied conducting in Switzerland, in the French part of Switzerland, and it's a repertoire that I love, a language that I love. Of course, we will I will take care of the South American composers and the whole American composers that somehow have been neglected or only played in special dates or moments. But there is great music and great composers. And we will go on with encouraging the new compositions and new pieces, of course. And sorry, last thing, opera couldn't miss. I'm also an opera conductor.
Of course, yes. Now, I know that at home, your violin is always out of its case. You've always got it to hand, and that you started off as a child playing the violin because, of course, your father is a violinist as well. But can you remember the first time that you picked up a baton? And did you get any fatherly advice when you started showing an interest in the baton rather than the violin?
Perfectly. There are three moments. One, of course, I was a kid, probably like my son, 5, 6 years old, and my father being the concertmaster of the Venezuelan Symphony Orchestra, I was lucky to go every week to a concert. So it's a big enigmatic figure that is, I only see his back, was always curiosity also to my son and kids. We are always curious about what is this and what is he doing and why. So this was going on me. And my father has some batons at home. I used to take them, put a recording, and conduct, and jump, and yes. Later on, I was in a youth orchestra from quarters in Caracas. And in one summer camp, the conductor, I was the concertmaster, said, come and conduct a little bit. And I will never forget, it was Pregin Suite, a Greek. And I got down and, oh wow, and sounds actually, you know, they follow what they don't. It was a fantastic experience. And from there, I was always an orchestra player, being a spy conductor on my mind. I was always watching the conductor, what to do, what not to do. Then when I came to Europe was the third thing. I'm a big fan of violin, and I love Christian Ferraz. And I remember the Sibelius Concerto, conducted by Tubin Mehta. I was always watching that video every time. Until one day I stopped taking attention on Christian Ferraz and watching Tubin Mehta. Wow, how he conducts this violin, the Sibelius Concerto, how beautiful, how perfectly together. And then everything developed, and then I went to conducting.
But we almost didn't have you in music. You almost went into another career, I seem to remember, that you studied. You had to focus on something else, didn't you, first? What was it?
Well, yes, this is a very crazy story because Venezuela is very well known for its sistema, but main thing is known by the oil. And then when I was so young, 17 years old, you know, a violin player, I wanted to study probably music as profession, but you always ask questions and then, okay, let me try anyway. You know, you never know. Then I made 2 admission exams. One was for the oil engineer. I was accepted, crazy. And then the second one was the medicine school. And this I studied for 2 years, the medicine school. But the funny part is that the medicine school in the Venezuelan Universidad Central de Venezuela is just in front of one of the most beautiful concert halls we have in Caracas, the Aula Magna. And then what I used to do is to escape from, you know, anatomy or biochemistry or something with my violin and go and practice violin in the corridors of the hall and then come back to lessons. So I think was never about I was going for music, but just, you know, I have to try a few things, the energy and so on, the youth.
So at the end of all this, you decided music was definitely going to be your life. What was it that took you, what was the decision, what was the process of thinking that you wanted to leave Venezuela and go to Switzerland? Was there a special attraction about Geneva?
Yes, I mean, the attraction was, at the time in Caracas, we used to work with many teachers that, you know, visit us from Europe, from Asia, from North America. And I really got a great chemistry with a great violin teacher here in close to Geneva. And he went twice, and used to play for him. And I liked the way he teaches music and the violin, which it would be more a whole complete philosophical thing instead of, you know. And then I fall in love with this way of teaching, and I make progress very fast. And then I received a scholarship. And I didn't have any doubt to come to Switzerland. This at the beginning was a private academy with him, Habib Kayaleh. And a few years later, I went into the conservatory for conducting. But it was, of course, the dream of studying violin close to the lake and this calm place, you know, where many composers used to come and write around here. Stravinsky used to live 30 minutes away from here. And it's really inspiring. And then, of course, I took the decision to come.
So you left Venezuela and moved all the way to Switzerland. That's away from home. You must have been slightly homesick when you arrived there. And I know that you love cooking. And I wonder if you found yourself cooking the cuisine of Venezuela that, you know, your family would have taught you, or did you just embrace the fact that you had an enormous European repertoire? But I know that you're passionate about cooking because I heard your podcast with Jennifer Johnson, where you talked about various things that you cooked, and I have to say I was starving by the end of it because you described it as wonderful foods. But did you at first find yourself doing Venezuelan cooking, and do you still do it?
Completely. I was so homesick. I used to go back 2 or 3 times a year. And the first thing you do when you go back, the food, go into the best places and the friends. And you know, Caracas now is going to a difficult moment and too much bad news around, but it's a city that Liverpool you will like this expression because probably you don't have it. It's a city of the eternal spring. It's always spring. It's always beautiful 27 degrees, sunny, sometimes a little bit of rain, sometimes 2-3 months a year. And the food is fantastic. And my friends, of course, I was totally, until now I have my family, and then the priorities are different. And then, but the cook, I'm always cooking all the Venezuelan food for my son.
Mm-hmm.
All the time.
Yes. So the other question we've had from one of the questions, many questions we've had from the audience, but one that came in a couple of days ago, was somebody asked, Maestro, could you give us some insight on your working as an assistant to Maestro Barenboim in Berlin?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. I was close to him. I'm still are, but I am still. But I was close to him for 10 years, 7 years as a player in the West Eastern Divan Orchestra, and 3 years as an assistant. You know, it's important to understand a basic job as an assistant basically is to probably anticipate the conductor doing some work, preparing the material. In an opera house, you work with the singers before the conductor comes or after, or you go in the hall and you listen to the orchestra and you try to, you know, that's kind of the main job. But with him, it's really another dimension. He is so generous, and he provokes the curiosity. He provokes the thoughts on the conductor. He really motivates that you improve, and he has so many layers himself that if you want to follow up all his rhythm of repertoire of thinking of activity, it's an amazing training. For me, was the best, and not only for me, for everybody that goes through that house and close to him is really, really incredible. Very demanding.
I imagine so. And another question that we've had from some of our viewers sent in advance. Somebody wants to know, obviously we're very concerned about choirs and all the stories in the press that we're reading about how potentially dangerous choirs are. Can you imagine it? And there's a great concern about, you know, when will choirs be able to return to singing without the social distancing problem. And I know that you in the last couple of days have just seen an example of this in Geneva with the performance that you've been to see with Beethoven 9. What kind of difficulties might we face if we have to accommodate a choir singing socially distanced, and the other problems of ensemble?
It's very difficult because we need to be close to each other to hear the overtones and to sing and to mix the voices. Nevertheless, we can be helped by the acoustics of a good hall that will approach the sounds, even if we are 2 meters, 1.5 meters distance. That's what happened the last days when I was as an audience. A very interesting project that you might all of you see in a few days on TV. They were all at 2 meters away, and the orchestra also. But it's a big challenge. I think I hope we can recover the old normality of playing music close to each other, because it's very important, that feeling and that sensation of playing next to somebody and singing next to somebody.
Mm-hmm. When you came in January, which to me seems like a long time ago now, but it's only half a year, you managed in your spare time to put an awful lot of things, and I know, and you insisted on visiting our In Harmony project here in Liverpool, which of course is now grown in its 11th year. And of course, the year beforehand, it celebrated the 10th anniversary of Patch of Flowers as the In Harmony Artist in Residence that weekend. So it's lovely that we have the link through to you for this especially. And I know that you had great fun visiting the children. But one of our audience members has asked, do you still play the violin? Which obviously we've already answered, yes, you very much do still play the violin. But they've asked, can the youngsters in the In Harmony program expect some special tuition from you personally?
Well, absolutely. I don't know if I will just focus on a violin player. Why not? I do it in Geneva in the project we have here when I'm around, for sure. But definitely, I think when I'm in Liverpool, I will spend time with the kids. I will give my best. I love it, and I think it's very, very, very important.
I know one of the things that you were most interested to talk about when you were here was the fact that we have a youth company, and that it embraces not just the In Harmony project, but also our youth orchestra, which I know we have plans for you to conduct, and our Liverpool Philharmonic Youth Choir and children's choirs. And there's so much going on. And of course, when Pacha was here in January, pre-concert, we had a brass ensemble playing in the music room. We've got a session orchestra. I mean, I just lose count of all the things that the learning team have got going. There's almost too much going on in Liverpool sometimes, and I can.
In Caracas, I feel I will be in Caracas. It's exactly that. We have the kids in school, then we have the youth orchestra, the youth choir, the brass ensemble, the jazz ensemble, the contemporary music ensemble, the Baroque ensemble. This is just amazing.
And I can also share that a little secret here, that when we have our Zoom meetings or our planning meetings, they're completely crazy, because Domingo has so many ideas, and between myself and Andrew Cornell, and we sit in a Zoom meeting, we throw ideas up, and each week the plan changes. I'm not quite sure how I'm ever going to put a budget together for it, because week in, week out it changes. But what is fantastic is the wealth of experience that you've got. You mentioned before about opera, because you spent many times, many weeks, many months working in opera houses around the world, and you have great experience in that field. For you as a conductor, coming in as a guest conductor, how does the world of opera companies and working differ from coming in as a guest conductor for a symphony orchestra? Is it a big difference for you as a conductor?
Yeah, of course. Already only the fact of an opera conductor and symphonic conductor is completely totally different, probably jobs. It's a different thing. But for me, what is important is that a symphonic orchestra could get the flexibility and some good opera orchestra manners, so that can sing, and lyricism and flexibility towards a soloist or a singer. And also the contrary, the opera orchestra should have this this attitude of a symphonic orchestra, and take the role of and take the role of or leading voice sometimes in an opera performance. And that is very important that both of them could complement perfectly.
Now, apart from the 12 weeks or so that you'll spend in Liverpool, of course, your guest conducting takes you around the world. And we are very lucky in Liverpool because we have a fantastic group of supporters who follow our orchestra. I mean, you know, there was a few of them went over to New York last November to see Vasily doing his first Met Opera debut, the groupies that they are. And it's fantastic that we have these supporters. And I know there are plans afoot already to start following you around the world as well, I can see, because Maestro Traveller have already put out some interest for that. But I want to know, in the next sort of 12, 18 months, where else are you going apart from Liverpool?
First of all, hoping we resume concerts soon. Then there are nice plans. I have, of course, some weeks where I'm principal guest conductor in Poland, in Katowice, where they have a fantastic concert hall with a fantastic orchestra. I have a lot of symphonic dates in the United States, and Detroit, Utah. I have. And by today, I'll be conducting at the Metropolitan Opera House beginning January. They will open on the 31st December with a gala, and I have a bohème on the 2nd January. And then going a little bit later to China, Chicago, in Europe, in France, Germany, Berlin again. So we have a lot of activity.
Yes. So one of your best friends is your suitcase, no doubt. Domingo, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you this evening, and I'm sure that Millicent's got some questions that I think I've seen coming in from audience members, and I don't want to hog it all, so I'm going to open over now to Millicent. Domingo, welcome to Liverpool. I know you're not physically here. There is the warmest welcome ever waiting to greet you here, and let's hope we see you in October. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, Domingo. We have had lots of questions for you, so I will try to get as many in as we can during this time. One thing that came up was your interest in commissioning and playing new music. How would you describe your attitude to new music, and do you see it as a continuing priority for the orchestra, and how do you see the role of Ensemble 1010 in our organization?
Absolutely. It's very important. In my studies, I did it a lot in Geneva. It's a conservatory where we do a lot of contemporary music, and I love to rehearse it. I love to discover it, and I think we will continue absolutely in Liverpool this tradition, historic tradition you have of commissioning new pieces and presenting new composers. And of course, it's meaningful for me because one of the pieces we did a world premiere in this fantastic concert last January that marked a little bit what's happening now between Liverpool and myself.
Another question we have, people obviously, as Sandra said, love the concert in January. One of our audience members wants to know how you felt about that concert and how you see yourself helping the orchestra connect to the people of Liverpool.
That's a great question, because a concert, I mean, for me, the perfect concert is sometimes maybe it's not the perfect technically speaking, but it's that concert where the energy between the orchestra and the audience, having the composer of the creator of everything, is well connected. This often happens when it's a good performance and the orchestra feel something by playing that get connected with the audience, and the audience and everything and everyone is connected. And this is the beauty of live performance that is totally irreplaceable. And what I wish and we will do is to keep this in every concert we have. Of course, the energy is different when you do Stravinsky or when you do Schumann, or when you do, but that's the magic. We have to find the message, and the music has this special that it gives some kind of pleasure even when it's sad. You feel full of emotions when listening to the March Funèbre of the Eroica, Beethoven, and it makes all these human sensations transmitted in beauty and in pleasure. Or sometimes if you are sad, you will sorrow, you will get even more sad, but everything is exponentially bigger. And I think the secret is that we find this in the orchestra. We find this in the audience. And even, it's very important, we find this through a few minutes in the kids, in the educational programs. Nourish the soul, and then creates the addiction for the music, and you will have a fantastic harmony in the ambience where the Philharmonic Hall is the center, and everyone wants to come. And then from the Philharmonic Hall, we spread it to the communities, and from the communities to the Philharmonic Hall. And all this is what I wish we can do, and we will achieve it.
It's a great description, and I think it's what we're all really missing right now. It brings it home. Okay, another question. Obviously, the orchestral musicians play as soloists and in different ensembles, both based in Liverpool at Philharmonic Hall and elsewhere in the UK and other countries. Are you supportive of that kind of very different types of work within the orchestral players?
Absolutely. The orchestra is a great orchestra is made by great individuals. The more happy and the more developed they are, the better the orchestra is. So all what is soloists and chamber music and small ensembles, that is very important. By the way, ensembles, I say ensemble 1010. I want to conduct one of these concerts with contemporary music and small ensembles to discover. Just to mention it because I forgot in the last question. But I will encourage, of course, and support all the members of the orchestra to play chamber music and as a soloist, absolutely. And myself, I will play chamber music with them.
Great. Okay. I think we probably have time for one more question. People really want to know what composers you're going to be bringing to Liverpool, and one person has asked about what you think of Nielsen and Bruckner in particular.
I love them. I really love them. So Nielsen and Bruckner might be there at some point. I keep secrets, but yes, funny that she mentioned those composers, exactly those two. But I'll be bringing also some French music, some South American composers, and I love the German music too. Composers, I feel is every composer will bring something different to the orchestra and to the audience. For example, in the German repertoire, we can really work on different sound that allows the orchestra to go to extremes of expressivity. In the French repertoire, we have some other gestures, other sounds that we have to find as another language. Or in Russian music, there's the brilliance, and the Nordic also this nostalgic and with these beauty melodies, we will have a lot of good things.
Fantastic. Okay, well, I think that covers pretty much all the questions we've had. So I'll just turn over to Michael for some final words at the end here.
Mute button. Mute.
Okay, sorry about that. You think after 12 weeks I'm getting used to how this thing works, but never mind. Actually, just before I do that, I've one other question that I know people will be interested in, Domingo, which is around choral music and repertoire. Obviously, as we've already discussed, you've got a fantastic background in opera, and of course you were due to be coming at the end of this month to conduct the orchestra with the Royal Liverpool Philharmonic Choir to do the Requiem. But what are your particular interests around choral music, would you say?
It's like we have symphonic music, instrumental, which sometimes is not specifically symphonic, opera, and choral. I think we need all of them. We need all of them. And the connection of the voice together with the orchestra. In choral music is different than in opera only. So it's this perfect marriage with the voice and the orchestra. And I have conducted a lot of them, Puccini, Messa, Di Gloria, Quattro Pezzi Sacri, Verdi Requiem. We will do choral music, absolutely. And of course, in England, we have to. We will.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, listen, Domingo, thank you very much indeed. And can I thank also everybody who's been listening in and the messages which are just pouring in on the chat, welcoming you, Domingo. I know everyone's really excited to both meet you and see you perform in the flesh. And of course, we're really looking forward to that as well. So thank you very much to everybody that was my wife in the background just going past there. She says hello as well. Thank you very much indeed to everybody for coming into this chat. We're all missing you, so we're looking forward to seeing you again very, very soon. But finally, Domingo, welcome, our Chief Conductor Designate. We're looking forward to seeing you in October and then in May, and then to the start of what I know is going to be a beautiful relationship in September 21. For now, thank you very much, everybody, and we'll see you again soon. Goodbye.
Thank you very much.